several years ago, when we, like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, when we started an application, working on an application, it was obvious that usually we've had the staging environment. That was something that we wanted to have as developers. That was something that we promoted, that is important to our customers. And that was something that we were happy with. But in the last, I don't know, year or 2 years at Arkansas, we spent more and more time talking about feature toggles as an idea. And recently, like even this year in 2017, we see that many of our projects are actually dropping the idea of stagings. It's not always possible, not always like everyone is happy with this decision, but in certain places we are able to convince that this is the right decision. And at least we find ourselves in this situation that we are convinced ourselves that it's better. With stagings they do bring certain good things, but they also bring some complexity. They bring some like data management. Given you're using a staging, you need to prepare some data, whether you're using seeds or someone has to click this data somehow. With feature toggles, you can like still have a feature disabled for most of the people, most of the users, obviously at the cost of changing the code base. But at least you are using the real data and the production data. And I think that's a huge win. That's a huge advantage. And also, when people, like maybe your QA people or maybe the client, when they are testing the new feature which is not yet enabled, at least you can see if there's a problem, at least you know it's not a problem of the data, like the data difference between staging and production is basically the same data. And it sounds like not a lot, but in practice it's really a lot to me. I've been in many situations where time was wasted because a problem on staging wasn't really a problem on production. It was just a problem of the inconsistency between staging and production. And I also know, because I can see like how developers are spending time, I can see like also how much time is spent on caring about staging, but also on fixing the staging or forgetting to fix the staging. Like maybe you introduce a migration which fixed the data or change the data, the way the data is stored, but then you have to remember about fixing the old data on production, and sometimes you forget about fixing the data on staging. So in this way, that's a cost, and this cost is usually like very distributed. So it's hard to say like we wasted 10 hours over a month. It's not like that. It's not easy to calculate. But if you watched the team how they work, you can see that this is happening very often. So feature toggle as an idea, it can have several implementations. As Arkansas, we have just released a Ruby gem, a very simple Ruby gem for handling feature toggles in Ruby. There is an application, I think it's called Launch Darkly, which also does the same. So feature toggles seem like a nice alternative right now to staging. So just a trigger for you maybe as an inspiration. Whenever you hear a discussion about staging, try to turn on your thinking about what maybe that would be easier with feature toggles. And those two things are not like one or the other. It can easily cooperate. So with one feature you can decide, okay, we really need staging for that to release it. But on another thing you can actually say, I will hide it behind a feature toggle. Or at least if you're not familiar with this concept, read some articles about feature toggles. You will find some of them at the Arkansas blog. Educate and maybe bring this as your new technique. Thanks for listening.